This PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after the show.
Don't drink the faucet.
We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, hi, my name is Peter. Yeah, I want. Here's good.
Yeah.
Madam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on. He likes it. It's showtime.
Pierucci Show, Pierucci Show. Divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad. Pierucci Show.
That's right, showtime. It's Wednesday. Wednesday equals welcome to the Peter G Show, Life with Peter G. How the hell is everybody? It's crunch time, time to go. Beautiful day out here in sunny Southern California. Some weird weather in other parts of the country, but I like it. Hope everybody's doing good. We have a great show tonight because it's something for some reason that has struck me in the heart, and we've talked about this before, and it's going to be great bringing it back because we're not done. But tonight, coming up in a few minutes, author of Burnbackbetter, Lahaina, right here. The Perfect Storm or the Perfect Crime. To me, you always know when I talk about this, I smell a rat. I don't think it was accidental. She's going to be on the show. We're going to talk about it. She spends a lot of time over there, wrote a book about it, and we're going to dive deeper into it and see what you think. It's coming up in a few minutes. Also, I got a little treat for you. I mean, I don't know who was around Monday and who had time to go check out the eclipse and all that. I didn't. I missed it. I think I was washing my hair that day. Yeah, I know. Not much to wash, right? But for those of you who may have missed the eclipse, because there was all this hype about the eclipse and, all this stuff. It's like, come on. They knew about this eclipse, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. It was coming. It's predictable if you're into that kind of stuff. But for those of you who may have missed it or, want to see what it was all about, I don't actually have it on film, but I managed to find a very close, similar reenactment of it. So I think you might dig this. And I mean, it'll give you an idea what you missed. Okay, just give you a quick idea. So just check this out, okay? Because I think, well, hang on 1 second. Let me make sure I got the right one. Yeah, I do. All right. So check this out. This is for your benefit because don't mention it. I'm always thinking about you guys. I want everybody. The purpose of this show is to be informed. So make sure that what's going on here? Restarting computer. Okay, audios. Okay, checking with my guest. She's we had a little bit of a late start with her, so cross your fingers. Everything's gonna be cool. But anyway, back to the eclipse thing. Everybody got all wound up about the eclipse and all these things were going to happen. Just like, what was it with the test, the emergency broadcast system or whatever the hell they call it now. Everything was going to freak out. Everything was going to go down. And what actually happened? Nada, zip, zilch, nothing. But again, all these distractions, it was way simpler before we had all this technology. Way simpler. We just kind of dealt with it. Then again, we're living in different times and where we have a lot of people with agendas on trying to decide the way we should live, think, eat, and breathe. And it's not good. So that's why I bring you this stuff. I want to keep you informed. Entertainment with a purpose. Let's just put it that way. But either way, for those of you who were working, lived in different parts of the country, you may have, you may have just forgotten about it, because I did. I can tell you the truth. Like, again, I've just kind of gotten used to this stuff. I don't want to call bullshit, but I call bullshit. I mean, it is what it is. You do what you want. I'm just bringing you information, and I tell you to decide. It's that simple. Oh, look, a squirrel. Either way, so back to the video. Did I keep you in enough suspense? Because this is a good one. I think it's the closest to a reenactment that I could provide for you, because here at the Peter G Show, don't forget, we spare no expense. But this is a good one. So just check this out. It's the reenactment of April 8th's eclipse. So tell me if you like it. What'd you think? Huh? I mean, the eclipse literally went by that quick for a lot of people. And if you missed it, the beauty of it is we can just do an instant replay. And I think we will. Don't mention it. That's the way I roll. Here's the eclipse one more time for those of you who missed it, because sometimes you got to take it all in to really get the full effect. You want to get that. You just like you blink and it's gone, and you're not supposed to stare directly into it, but through technology, you can stare directly into this clip, and you'll be fine. Yep. It's all good right here. It's all good. Hang on a second, because my guest is having a little bit of trouble here. I see one. Okay, there we go. She's having a little bit of trouble. She had a late start, and that's why I always try to do what we call a line check. It's prior to the show, making sure that everything works, because technology can be tricky. And I'm live, so we're doing a race show. It's a race, indie race, whatever you want to call it. Gentlemen, start your engines. If you blow a tire, you keep going. We don't stop. And those of you who follow this show long enough know that we've blown many tires. Hell, we've blown engines. And we push that damn car across the finish line, because we finish. No doubt. But here's what's going to happen. So also, while we're doing this, while I'm waiting on her to try to get back on, I want you to please subscribe to the Peter G Show. Please. I need your help. I'm getting hit from all over. It's hard. These guys especially make it very hard. I'm on there, but they're shadow banning me, making it hard for me to be seen. And but keep subscribing. Just hit the subscribe button. Follow whatever platform you're on. Your Facebooks, your LinkedIn's, your X, your Instagrams, whatever. Just follow. I got to beat them at their own game. I'm not going to let them shut me down unless they pull me off their platforms, which they threaten to do that occasionally. A few of them have. That previous one, and TikTok's a pain in the ass too. They've been really hard on my ass about stuff, but I'll keep going until they finally decide to knock me off. Either way, all good. But please support. Okay. Lastly, I want you to mark this on your calendars. All right. Next week, April 17th, Wednesday, April 17th. It's time for your health. All right. Naturopathic Dr. Randy Shannon's going to be on this show. All right. Randy with an I. Dr. Randy Shannon's a she. She does, and she specializes in faces, tongues, fingernails, 5,000-year-old medicine. Okay? I'm truly starting to believe more and more on naturopaths, because Western medicine is great to a certain extent, but I have my qualms with them, believe me. And we've talked about it before, and I got some great doctors that come on this show. So please make sure you you log into that. I mean, come on to the show next week and check her out because she's been around on many, many shows, and I'm very blessed to have her come on to this show. So check it out. All right, we're going to bring on Stephanipierucci with her book, Burn Back Better, Lahaina, A Perfect Storm or a Perfect Crime, in just a couple of minutes after we hear a quick word from my good friends over at Clean Star Products with their money-saving fuel additive DX1 driver. So I'll be back in 1 minute.
Hello, I'm Tyrone Thompson of CleanStarProducts.com. This is DX1 Driver in the news, and here's what our friends have to say.
So I'm here to recap on the DX1 I've used. I put it in the oil and I put it in the gas. While I'm using it just for about 3 tanks. Cleaned everything out. I got every ounce of power back in my truck.
When Jared's truck was new, it had a lot of power. Then over time, it began to slow down. He got it all back with our DX1 Driver program.
Something you got to see for yourself. It's a great product. It's affordable. And it blows all the other additives and esters out of the water.
DX1 Driver is the finest oil in the world from a California environmental company. It goes into the fuel system and the oil. It's the only green grade product qualified for the carbon credits program, giving you better fuel mileage, lower emissions, and increased horsepower. So join the fuel savings revolution today. Go to CleanStarProducts.com/shop.
That's right, folks. Clean Star Products. All I can tell you is they actually have a product that works. I'm living proof. I've been putting it in my higher mileage Ford F-150 pickup truck, and I got to tell you, it definitely made a difference. It cleaned out everything. It gave me back. I know I don't have to step on the gas pedal. It's a pig. It's a heavy truck with a big V8, because it needs to be tough, and it just goes easier. I don't have to step on the gas as much as I used to get up to the speeds I used to get up to. For more information, why don't you just go to www.cleanstarproducts.com. There's a phone number there. You can call Tyrone Thompson personally. He will answer any of your questions you have. I'm telling you, he's a plethora of information. And after you talk to him, should you decide you want to order, tell him you mentioned it on the Peter G Show, and you will get 5 bottles for the price of 4. That's right. Brace yourself. 5 bottles for the price of 4. Just mention it that you saw it on the Peter G Show, all right? They know what I do, and they still sponsor me. So God bless them. And again, they actually have something that works. So that means a lot. I mean, it's not just it's not snake oil. I wouldn't have keep going with it had it not been. So give them a call, check it out, and tell them that you saw it on this show. All right. All right, here we go. So now, without further ado, let's take a sip real quick before I bring Stephanie on. Woo! Smooth. I have Stephanie waiting in the wings. I'm going to cross my fingers now, and we're going to be good. And I can just tell. Stephanie, can you hear me right now? Shake your head if you can hear me. Oh, yeah, good. I can see your little. Can you back the camera off a little bit to make you a little bit smaller? Okay, any possibility? I can't see your whole face, and we want to catch that face. There you go. All right, so without further ado, my pleasure. We've been working on this for a while, and I'm glad to say I finally got her on the show. And again, this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. It just kind of, everything happens for a reason. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, author of Burn Back Better, Stephanipierucci. Hey.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Whew, I can hear you. Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing. Are you on your phone or a computer? Phone.
Unfortunately, I'm on my phone. You know, I had a storm knock. I live in Aspen, so spring here sometimes still feels like winter. I had a storm knock my internet out a couple days ago, and yeah, my technology wasn't up to par today. Forgive me for being on the phone. I know it's not as fun.
No, it'll be good. Is there any way you can turn that phone horizontal?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Ta-da! Okay, now we're perfect.
Yeah. We'll see how long I can hold it.
You'll be okay. Well, you'll be fine if we can keep that there. We're good. Again, technology can be your best friend or your worst enemy. So
Oh yeah, believe it's interesting living or growing up in Chicago and then coming to Aspen, where it's pretty rural. And what's really interesting is I was just on Maui, obviously working on research for my next book about the fires, and some of the crazy things that are going on the island. And I said, Maui really feels like a strip mall compared to 10 years ago, when I first started visiting Maui. And I wanted to get back home to Colorado where it actually feels like an island.
wow. Why don't we do this real quick? Why don't you take a second and give everybody a brief synopsis of who you are, what you do, and why you're doing it, and then we're gonna backtrack and start going for all this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been a professional writer and publisher for a long time. I run a business called Pierucci Publishing, and for the last 17 years or so, I've been not only writing professionally, but helping people publish books, because as many of your listeners probably already know, the book publishing game is a bit of a racket, and it's a lot of really old, ineffective models people are using to get their books out there, or unfortunately, it's so easy now for people with a computer to publish just total garbage that things are really competitive. So my business works with both publishing and writing great books that are going to stand out for people. My Maui investigation was a passion project. I'm usually running the business, not writing the books.
And what got you started? What made you do it? I mean, what made you all of a sudden from go off your beaten path and get so deep into this subject? Which, I mean, I kind of know why, but how did it get you?
Yeah, well, at the time, I don't know, maybe 15 or 16 months ago, I started doing some consulting for a business that had been established for a couple years, but wasn't actually doing business. And it was a dating site, and the CEO of that dating site lived on Maui. And so I was very connected to her. My assistant is in Hawaii. I have many partners and authors in Hawaii. So I've just professionally, for some reason, I am magnetically drawn to work with people in Hawaii. And that just all happened quite serendipitously. And I didn't think anything of it. And then, I was traveling with my son, and it was summer vacation. August 9th, we returned to the continental United States, and my girlfriend on Maui called me and said, there's been a fire. And she said, my mom almost didn't make it out. She had to off-road her vehicle and drive past police barricades. She thought they were going to shoot at her because they were so strict about no one leaving Lahaina. And that's when my friend said, there's something fishy going on, because had my mom obeyed those policemen who were blocking the streets, she would be dead right now. And that's when I said, that I've heard that story before. Something weird is going on.
Okay. So it's safe to say that you and I and many people are on the same page. And then we're going to get into the conspiracies and how, and why. But you and I both believe that wasn't an accident. And there was too many things after all that tragedy that just don't make sense. Am I correct in saying this?
Oh, yeah. And you know what? It's really hard to figure out why the heck, for instance, the roads were blocked. I was calling it the rotisserie, because it's like with all the escape routes blocked, they were just routing people around, around the streets. And so that tipped me off that, you know, I never thought it was the local policeman, but I knew they had gotten some pretty fishy orders or some bad orders from somewhere.
Right. You think these guys were just doing what they were told, or you think that there was other people impersonating the policeman?
Well, we're looking for crisis actors. We're looking for evidence of crisis actors. Of course, we have cell phone footage from people who were in the fire, and it's all being reviewed by the community. But because the community had been beaten over the head and told that this was climate change, it's being called a wildfire. A lot of people were not open to the investigation, but thank God for two men named Bruce Douglas and Paul Deloriers. They're single-handedly getting everyone they can on the island involved in this investigation. So they're reviewing thousands of hours of video and pictures. And yeah, we have, you know, we're questioning whether or not there were crisis actors. But here's something more interesting to me right now that I learned when I was on the island a few weeks ago. You know, these policemen were brand new, freshly graduated cadets. They had only really been on the ground, so to speak. There was a lot of corruption in the police department. It's not relevant to this story at this time, but basically a lot of people retired out of the police force in Lahaina. All these cadets had been on the force maybe 8 weeks at the time of the fire. So it was really a perfect storm. And if someone was going to give bad orders, particularly people who were not even on the island at the time, these guys were impressionable and vulnerable to that.
Let's back it up even a little bit more. How do you the cause of the fire is the biggest, you know, it goes one way or the other. Either you believe what they say, that it started out with some electrical wires someplace where a lot of locals claim there's not even any electrical wires due to the hurricane winds and all that kind of stuff, or it was done by a direct energy weapons or something of that sort, because it's impossible for the way everything burned in so many places and all that. I mean, how do you differentiate, you know, because I get called a lot of names. I know I told you I've done 3 shows about this, and you get the people who are totally in sync with you, or you get the people that say you're a buffoon, you're a friggin' idiot, and that's all AI and, you know, baloney. What's your view?
You know, when you see the way that trees burned, when you see the way that bodies burned, with, you know, the chest cavity, just everything melted and just a few ribs poking out, like, and then the hair is fine, the skin is fine, the clothes are not burned. You just see these bizarre things burning like inside out, frankly. And you're like, well, that certainly looks like it might be an energy wave or a microwave. You know, you're not crazy when you see some of the things that burn the way they did to say, wait a minute, something doesn't look right. When you see glass and steel just melting and dripping over steering columns on the vehicles, and then we're told it's a brush fire, which is only going to get to 1,500 degrees. That's bizarre. When Hurricane Dora, you know, was 500 miles away, and suddenly there's wind that's 70, some people say even more than 70 miles an hour on the island. Well, yeah, you're not crazy to question whether or not there was, you know, a sort of like a HARP activity or weather engineering. And I could go on and on and on. I mean, the day before the fire, the island is shrouded with this white haze, you know, which many people think was you know, an accelerant perhaps that was being sprayed. There were bizarre weather patterns the morning of the fire. little tornadoes on the water. People saw up to a day before the fire. Weird stuff happened. And the only way we're going to figure it out is if we ask questions. So that's what we're doing.
I get you, but again, there's a lot of people that are just deniers of like not only how it started, but the media was not allowed to cover this very much. A lot of people say, well, you don't hear much about it. Now you're telling me about footage about bodies and people. I mean, this footage is not, I haven't seen. I mean, I'm sure some locals that that got caught up in it and survived took it, but you don't see any of this kind of stuff. I mean, I heard stories, everything from people being killed from FEMA, impersonating FEMA agents and killing people and then burying them out in the forest back there. I mean, whether it's true or not, who knows? But it just didn't fall right together. And they denied access to all the media. So nobody could know because they weren't letting you see anything.
Right. Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons that I, got on a plane and went out there and started talking to the community. And that's when I learned about this Maui community investigation that I mentioned. But also, I have a very good friend who's on Maui, not the dating site friend, but another friend who's actually, was born and raised in Hawaii originally from Big Island, and who's sort of a medicine man, highly respected in the community. So I had the honor of going basically house to house with someone that the community really expected. But what I learned is that people on the island do not want to talk about some of the stuff you and I are talking about. And that was a trauma response. So when I started doing podcasts, 6 months ago, I said, mark my words, as soon as these people go to the next phase of their grief, they're going to start asking questions. They're not ready yet. And sure enough, I'm getting calls every single day now from people all over who say, all right, now I'm ready to talk. All right, now I'm ready to tell you what I've seen. So I am not taking most of those calls. I'm sort of funneling them over to other people who have, frankly, time to do the investigation or to continue the investigation. I'm involved listening, but I'm not, spearheading. For instance, people are suing, Maui County or Hawaiian Electric or certain, HOAs, yada, yada. There's all these lawsuits going on. This is really a cluster. What concerns me right now more than anything is the people on Maui healing from the trauma of what they've seen. I think anybody, I should say every single person I asked on Maui, whether they believe that it was climate change or bankers who started this fire, nobody thinks it was only 100 people that died. And the way that they found bodies was horrific. And these people are really traumatized. Even last night, a movie came out. I don't know if it's online. I couldn't believe my eyes. This guy was hiding in a parking garage. And at the end of this movie, he posted it on YouTube. I'm sure it's been taken down by now. He gets out of this parking garage and he's walking past these vehicles with dead bodies and bodies all over the street. I mean, I couldn't believe, and they're very, very weird too. But that's just one example of someone who's kind of releasing his footage, right? So he was a teacher at the Kamehameha 3 elementary school, and he is a cultural educator, Native Hawaiian, and it took him this long to come out with that footage and that story.
This is what I was going to ask you next. It's like, what do you believe the body count? Because I saw, now again, I've had a lot of videos and I've gotten people that have written me that claim to be on that island and wanted to talk to me on this show. And I can't verify and things like that. I mean, and by the time they get a hold of me, the show's over and, I'm on to the next thing. And I don't believe the amount of people they claim, because one of the biggest thing, the questions I still get to this day, at least weekly, is what happened to all the children? There's no answer. There's no count. There's nobody saying I'm missing anybody, or at least if there is somebody saying this, it's not being heard. It's not being told. How do you keep such a secret?
I've talked to parents and teachers on the island, and their response to that question is, thankfully, most people don't know of any missing children outside of the ones that were reported. One of the teacher who just posted this video from the parking garage, and then God forbid anyone sees this, but I can't imagine it's still on YouTube. But when he left the parking garage, there's people in the streets, whatever. And then he's walking down Front Street, which was war zone. And I said, you saw a lot of horrific stuff, but do you think, based off the children you taught from the school and based off what you saw walking out of Lahaina that day, did you see a lot of children dead, or do you think there are missing children? And he said, I'd be reaching if I said it were a dozen. He's like, there's no way it's more than that, because our community is so small that if there were more than, 6, 7, 8 kids missing, we would all know about it. The question people are asking now is like, okay, so if it wasn't Hawaiian children that were missing, is there some shady thing going on with like the foster homes, because Governor Josh Green's wife works for this foster care agency. I wrote about it in the book. They've got all the, they've got all the pedophile symbols for their logo. It's very, very, very fishy, but it's one of many rabbit holes we can go down and just keep getting stuck, not finding any evidence. So when it comes to missing children, if people know stuff, they have not given any concrete, solid evidence to the investigation team on Maui, because I would have heard about it.
I just, there's been some theory like, well, if the parents and grandparents or whatever, if the family's wiped out, who's going to know to say anything? But there's always been this conflict. I've been getting videos. I got videos in the past about a bunch of school buses parked on a lot. And then all of a sudden the school buses were gone. And the theory was these kids were on these school buses. Where did the school buses go? They can't find them. See, I don't know. Believe me, I get a lot, and I say, listen, I'm putting it out there. You decide. That's all I can say. There's been a lot of speculation that there was dozens of children that were missing from, from school or whatever, wherever they were, and that's always been.
The kids. I mean, the kids obviously couldn't go back to school because it, at least. The Kamehameha 3 school was on Front Street. So I've got pictures of it. You can't, it's not habitable. But so yeah, there were a lot of children missing from school because their families didn't have a home. They didn't have clothes. They didn't know where to go. Some of them went off island to Oahu. Some of them came to the mainland. Some of them just stayed home. Some of them lost aunties and uncles and they were too traumatized to go back to school. Or maybe the parents were like, you know what, kids, we don't know what we're going to do. Just stay home. We're freaked out. We're traumatized. So I think there's a million reasons why kids didn't return to school the next week. I don't think they were trafficked. I just think that island is too small. The community is too close. They talk too much. They're in each other's business in beautiful ways where we would have known exactly who was missing.
Well, okay, but just to look at this, the government says it's 100 and something people that were killed in that fire. I'm thinking thousands. Am I wrong? I mean, if I don't believe that it's only 150 people perished in that fire. I don't know, but how do you keep that? They blocked everything off. They put walls around everything because they didn't want you to see. That wasn't no dust collecting, fence or to keep the dust down and all that baloney. They don't want you to see. I saw a video that had 5 refrigerated trailers by the coroner's office, running. And I didn't, I don't have time to show every single video, but, and it was walled off. They built a big black wall around the whole thing. I mean,
yeah, I had a friend go do a live video before they walled it off and walking around those refrigerated trailers. But then other people say, no way, those bodies, they went straight to Oahu and the organs were harvested. But you know what? These bodies were completely incinerated. This stuff sounds so outlandish. And that's why it's critical that we get an investigation going, because that's because it's there are people, and I learned this from being a writer and a publisher, but there's people who actually sort of get off on the most gruesome parts of the story and sometimes I almost wonder if it's planted, because it takes people away from, it gets people so emotionally attached to dead ends, stuff that we may never really know. Although with regards to the total count, the total death count, I do have a couple researchers that have some interesting theories they're going to present for me this week. So I'll share those with you as soon as I get that analysis. But I think some of it is a distraction from a couple more tragic things. And so, one really tragic fact is, you know what? These people will never get their land back. These families, this community is going to be torn apart forever. And that's really, really sad. I mean, there were thousands of people left homeless after the fire. And I don't think anyone who lost a home, almost nobody who lost a home in the burn zone is going to get it back. I mean, there's a third bill right now. There was the SB 3381, and then there was another one after that. I think it was like HB 2687 or something. But anyway, they're pushing legislation after legislation after legislation to just rip this land away from the Hawaiians and break up the community.
We're gonna get into that, but I want to back it up a little bit more, because again, I think it's tragic, and I think this is not. There's a science behind fires. For years, we have people. A human body burning in a fire is pretty understandable nowadays if you're a fire expert and things like that. From what people are saying, the few people, these bodies are burned. I mean, you can't even do a cremation and incinerate a body. The bones have to be ground up and things like that. They're talking about incineration, powder. You touch things and things go to dust, things like that. So, I mean, how do you keep that? If the locals in it, you're saying it's such a small community, they must know. They must know what's really going on over there. And how come it hasn't, just by natural, because of the situation, how can you keep a secret like this? I mean, as hard as the government's trying to keep a secret, and now it's just, they picked it up and scooped it away as fast as they could. That was the whole key.
Right.
How?
Yeah, Do
you believe that this was not, we believe that this was not normal? I mean, however this fire was started, whether it was direct energy weapons, or how does this burn and this doesn't burn? I'll tell you what, let me play a quick video. This is a prime example. I just have to help people, get up to speed. Prime example of a car surrounded by nothing that melted, and there's nothing around it but a little bit of, 1 foot tall dry grass. Explain. So this is a quick little 2-minute video. Check this out.
Whatever it is that caused this, which we don't know, is still trying to cause havoc on this island as we speak. So this threat's not over. The story's not finished. And it's because God Almighty has allowed us to have this type of access to this piece of evidence right now on the side of this highway that's public. And the sheriffs were nice enough to leave us alone. They said we couldn't park here, but why is it that the media is not given access? Is there third-party independent oversight to what's going on? Why is the deputy sheriff, the chief of police still the coroner? There's so many unanswered questions, but I hope that this brings some insight into what limited things we are able to see right now.
Right here. There we go.
And quite frankly, this does not make sense. Even if I didn't understand anything about temperature or fires, any logical person can look at this and go, hey, man,
my Lord, look at the motor.
how did this grass fire cause this car to completely melt? Look at this motor.
The manifold
Where's the manifold?
right here.
I know, where is it?
It's dust.
And then look at that push pop in there. Completely intact.
What?
Completely intact.
Well, maybe someone came here and had a
They'd
kid
have to
taking
throw that-
pictures or
I
something.
don't know.
you
It
know.
looks like it endured a fire. I don't know.
That is weird. So this is just pulver. It's literally.
That's the battery.
Oh gosh.
That's lead.
That is lead. That is lead. Oh boy, I'm gonna get that off me.
Yeah. Might not be damaging now. Yeah, here's the glass from the lights.
Again, I can't overstate this enough.
Eric is so brave. I couldn't respect him more. And people were and are still to this day so pissed at him for asking questions and being a citizen journalist on that island. To this day, people who believe that there were laser beams, like visible laser beam, direct energy weapons, coming from the sky, still hate Eric West. It's insane to me, that guy who shot that video, because if it were not for him, we wouldn't know half of what we do know. And so to answer your question, why don't we have more facts? And it's because people are not taking responsibility to get over there and get pictures and collect the videos and analyze what they're seeing. And the other reason we don't have answers is because this was planned a long time ago, I think. like this is not something that all of a sudden, some sinister government official came up with like 3 weeks before the fire. No. This is something that probably had been planned and analyzed for a very long time.
I mean, I'm sure, because it's that how in the hell does it happen to be the police chief from Las Vegas, when that mass shooting occurred, happens to get reappointed to police chief of Maui, and then gets to be self-appointed coroner. So he only got to inspect the bodies and see things nobody else got to. So whatever he wrote down and saw, well, I'm sure there was a shroud of people, but that was it. And so it's his word, and that's it. There's no outside help. There's no, or at least that, nobody that's not in cahoots with them. I mean, what are the odds of that same police chief that had to deal with that massacre is the same police chief dealing with this tragedy? I mean, it just doesn't add up. I mean, there's all these things, and anybody who stays quiet and says, well, that's just life, they're just complacent, and they'll be led to slaughter the next time around. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't even know if Pelletier, the police chief, I don't even know if he was the police chief during the Vegas massacre.
He was.
Because now we have people who say, no, he said he was the police chief during the Vegas massacre to get the job in Hawaii, but he was actually just and we're looking for official documents.
That shouldn't be hard.
Right, but now people are saying, no, he was just a first responder or something like that. He was not like the actual chief. He was just maybe cleanup or something like that. He wasn't there. He wasn't involved. So now that's another interesting
This is
You
the
know?
first time. This is the first time I'm hearing that, because nobody has questioned me, and I've played that video a lot because there were people yelling at him while he was talking.
Yeah.
About coincidence
Yeah.
of all this, and there was no denial. There was nothing. He just stayed
Yeah.
silent. So again, I
Well,
just
he'll be damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. Like if he lied about being the chief, he's in trouble. If he was the chief, he's in trouble. Uh, but then that's the other question is, well, maybe this is like a George Floyd thing. Maybe this guy was just an actor. Maybe he's been an actor the whole time. Maybe he and so so that's why it's incumbent upon all of us to talk to, like, we're interviewing guys in the police department in Lahaina, right now, conducting interviews. Hey, what's your relationship like with Pelletier? What's it like working for him? Is he at the office every day? Is he not? Is he nice? Whatever. And I'll tell you what, that guy has some very uncomfortable emotional outbursts and the way that he treats people, not just the secretary that was assigned to him, who mysteriously died in a car wreck at 4 a.m, about 16 months ago. But yeah, there's a whole lot of weirdness around that police chief.
That's the police chief. Look, I don't see anybody too happy about the governor of Hawaii and the mayor. They're all really tight-lipped. I mean, I have not heard many good things about either of those two either.
Well, yeah, I mean, for a long time, people have said, "Oh, Hawaii is the most corrupt government, in the United States," and I thought, yeah, well, I don't know. That sounds to me melodramatic. And then I started researching this fire, and I realized, good Lord, Hawaii has the most corrupt government, and a lot of it is the people on these islands. You've got two people. You've got the natives, the blue, mostly very blue collar, who are working two jobs, who can't get involved in government. Because you think about it, for me as a mom, when I go to a school board meeting, you know who's there? Women who probably don't have full-time jobs, whose husbands work. These are the people getting involved in local politics, let's be honest, or it's retired people. So you've got all these people who don't get involved, who have the best interest of Hawaiians in mind, but they're working two jobs. They don't have time to get involved in local politics. The other people that you have who are residents in Hawaii, it's people, second, third homeowners. They're not getting involved in local politics. So you've got this government that just runs rampant with corruption, all the way from the governor right down to the very local level, such as police. And now, I mean, Josh Green, the governor, he's saying 2 days ago that he wants to turn Lahaina into, a miniature Venice. He wants to restore canals and water features. And coincidentally, this is his third proposal for Lahaina. And my understanding is that all three of his proposals, all right, he's not going to stop until one of them gets voted in. But he is dead set on turning Lahaina into another Disney World, or another, Waikiki, or now he's saying Venice. I cannot understand how people do not see this for what it was, which was clearly a land grab. Desirable land, thousands of residents whose family had that land for generations, in a lot of cases. Very blue collar town. And oddly, for everything that burned, 86% of it was residences. I was just in Lahaina. Big box stores are fine. So McDonald's is fine. The I don't know what it was, the Safeway, or it's fine.
Yeah.
And so no matter how the fire started, this was, I'm 95% sure this was a land grab.
It's, to me, it's not even how the fire started. It's the way the fire burned things is just very unusual. You know, there's a lot of people that do not believe in direct energy weapons. Like, that's all a bunch of bullshit. And, you know, there's no way that these kind of things can happen. I think these things can happen. And
Yeah.
I've seen videos that everything was precisionally, you know, it doesn't make sense. Petrified. I have another quick little video of, I don't know where these people are at, but check this out. This is an example of, they found a frog that had been fried. I don't know if you saw this video, but here, it's a minute and a half, so sit with me.
We are standing for the people, and he's got some amazing information. So what do you want to share with us about visiting Maui for the last 2 weeks?
Well, I noticed that there's some like videos going around the internet of some interesting bodies, notably like the cat that's like left standing up, and then the dog that's in the street, and also like the people laying on the road too, one of them with the special kind of like hairstyle, and I don't really know if we're going to get many bodies to be able to analyze what's going on, but I was able to get something from ground zero.
Because he was in ground zero for how long?
2 weeks. And this right here is a toad that is petrified or mummified in mid-leap. So you can see the angle of it. It's not squatting down. It's very symmetrical in every way that it is, and you can see those legs just jumping. So whatever it is that happened in a split second.
So this was from Maui ground zero.
Yep, I sifted it from the ashes where there was melted aluminum 20 feet away.
So this frog should have turned to ash.
It even has some ashes on the bottom. It's kind of gray. And it got a little bit on the edge of some heat, but it didn't contort it or anything. It's just perfectly symmetrical, petrified. And it seems mostly hollow, but the skin is totally solid and intact.
I see you taking.
Yeah, the woman in that video is Michelle Melendez.
She lives,
she lives on Big Island, and she is my co-author in an upcoming book that she named The Great Maui Land Grab, because I wanted to call it Stealing Hawaii, but she won. And yeah, she is relentless, tireless, incredible citizen journalist. I mean, she's talked to government officials. She's talked to like this random guy that we had the frog. I don't know who he is. Actually, I'll ask Michelle if you want me to, but yeah, so this is a great example, Peter, of how small the community of investigators on this Maui situation is. We all know each other because no one else is taking responsibility to say, wait a minute, our freedom of press was violated. Our First Amendment rights were violated. So I'm going to pack up my bag and I'm going to fly my ass over there and I'm going to ask some questions. Guess what? I did that. Not many other people did. You know, and so that's, I think, a lesson for the American people. It's like, hey, don't wait for the cavalry. You are the cavalry. You are the investigator. Guess what? If the government is going to hide stuff, you go out there and you look for it yourself. It's personal responsibility.
Steph, I've learned doing this show, especially like I talk a lot about the border and, you know, the border invasions going on, everybody coming over, 10 million, you know, illegal people running. If it doesn't affect them in their neighborhood or them personally, this is what's going on in our country. It's like,
you're right.
I don't see it. I don't see it. You got to wait until somebody gets murdered, robbed, or something goes bad, unfortunately, before it gets to be enough. You know, you can't see what's going on. They won't do anything. And that's why. So while you were watching that video, I was watching you. And you're shaking your head a lot, and I couldn't tell whether you were in agreement or you were saying it was bullshit, because anybody can pick up a rubber frog and go and do something like that if that's the case. But now you're telling me you know who that is. So
yeah.
okay, because
I mean,
this
I know
guy,
that was not. I know that was not fabricated. It wasn't some ceramic that they dusted. And that's just because I know Michelle and the woman who did that interview. But the other thing is, like, the things that were found petrified like that, or they look petrified, most of them you couldn't touch and bring on a plane and take home. I mean, a lot of stuff, like you already mentioned, turned to dust, but it's really, really creepy when you see things that, maybe were running and then all of a sudden, they look like they just got zapped. They didn't like burn slowly.
that's not how a fire burns. That's what you're saying. I mean, you're burning from the inside out, right?
No,
Microwave.
This was very likely some heat-seeking, some heat-seeking weapon, some energy wave. It's not like it's not, like like lasers in the movies.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a really reasonable theory for why we're finding things that incinerated the way that they did. I mean, like you said, cremation, I think it requires 14, 15, 1600 degrees, which, a fire can get that hot. But
not normally.
But not normally. You're right. Yeah. Not normally. It can get that hot, right? We got to look at all the different. But here's the thing. It takes hours and hours and hours. When you see like the video of this guy who was in the parking garage, the fire swept pretty quickly. It didn't just, it's not like a crematorium, where it's like, something is exposed to that heat for hours. No, it went through pretty fast. So everything with this whole gaslighting about the energy weapons, it's ridiculous, because you can go to government websites right now. A lot of them are listed in my book that talk about directed energy weapons. Right. So saying that that's not possible is it's foolish. It's blind.
but the thought, and I understand that people would think, why would our own government or whoever, do this to their own people and this and that? But, we're living in some really weird times, unfortunately. And I'm saying, it's hard to believe, but believe it. They don't care about us.
What if it wasn't the government? That's what's really weird. I'm not saying it wasn't. Yeah. And obviously, if directed energy weapons were involved, it probably was.
They would know. They would know.
Yeah, they would know. They would have to, obviously, if the technology was being used. But, so many bizarre things we're learning now. And I'm working on this before I publish the next book because it's freaking interesting. Well, now we've learned that the Haleakala and Mauna Kea satellite stations were hacked on the 1st or 2nd of August. Red flag. Doesn't seem ironic to me. And so the controls were moved for 5 days, which is protocol on both of those satellite stations. So just this whole the whole idea that directed energy weapons were not involved, I think that's insane. When I say maybe the government wasn't involved, what I mean is maybe it wasn't the government. Maybe it was, BlackRock, who's
right. Okay. But again,
so
they're all in cahoots.
Yes, I'm saying there's probably not one criminal. There's probably a whole lot of criminals who had vested interest in incinerating this place.
But even the simpler things, no water. You got an ocean right there. How the hell do you have no water? You can suck it out of the ocean if you wanted to. The siren's not going off. Cell phones were cut off. I've been told that the power was cut off way before anything could have started a fire. I don't know.
And there were kids pulling hundreds of bodies out of the water who all had to sign these NDAs. So you wonder why we don't have a proper death count. Well, a lot of the people that were hired to pull these bodies out of the water, if it wasn't Coast Guard, it was local surfers who now had to sign these NDAs. And so, you know, we what I'm saying is this was planned so far in advance. And that's why it's critical that we've got just dozens and dozens of people all over the continental US as well as the islands asking questions, looking for a public investigation. You know, because the team that's investigating currently, I don't know if I mentioned this to you when we were chatting a couple weeks ago, but you know what? The team that's investigating the fire is Underwater Laboratories. They happen to belong to the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, shocking.
But they're the ones who came up with that ridiculous fabrication called the pancake theory of the towers collapsing during 9/11.
Can of worms. But again, it's this. I'm just asking these questions because I'm trying to get some people that are the naysayers. Like, how the hell do the boats in the water burn to the ground when they're in the water catching? You know, away, crossing a street with cement and sand, and how the hell does all the boats just get burned? It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't, you know, you can't have that much fire to make it go over there. You just can't.
Yeah, I mean, if embers flying will not incinerate 50 different vessels that are 200 yards away. It just doesn't make sense. And the other thing that's bizarre, and this is why Hoku Haiku, his video that went live last night on YouTube, I hope his video gets into a lot of hands because he has evidence of the shifting winds, and that's not normal behavior. That's certainly not hurricane behavior. So all the boats 200 yards away incinerating, that's it's a bit of a smoking gun, I would say. It's one of those anomalies that's going to lead us closer to the truth.
Yeah, and all those cars, every car, it just, okay, I could see a car catching fire if it was next to a house that was burning up, but to have every car catch fire, it just, even cars don't catch fire. Even with gasoline in the tanks, they don't catch fire and melt like they melt.
And Peter, why did people not leave their cars?
Yeah.
Why have I seen more bodies from you know, I mean, you know, people share this stuff. It's horrific.
I haven't seen any.
Why were so many bodies incinerated in cars? Why did they not get out of their seats? Because it happened that fast.
Yeah, they never knew what was coming. What hit them.
Why were their bodies burned in cars?
Again, this cover up, and they were quick to not let anybody in. Now, I can understand for looting and things like that to have security, but people who own their own land were not allowed to go to back to their own land. They wanted to get every bit out that they can to make sure that nobody can tell. You know, dead people can't tell stories, number one. But the ones that were alive, they want to make sure they know as little to nothing as possible, because it just seems too friggin' obvious this was not normal. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Hawaiian Electric is going to get pegged. You know, is going to get pegged as sort of the bad guy. For negligence of the power lines, et cetera, et cetera. But I just think that's going to get blown out of the water too. If they have a fair trial, which sounds, wishful thinking, but because the power lines were, you know, I mean, there's video after video after video of people touching the power lines all day long, and they were, you know, there was no power.
Wow.
So it's interesting. I went out with Paul and Bruce and from the Maui investigation team and saw where they think the arson points were, and where the brush had not been mitigated. It had not been cut down. It was allowed to grow, and it was very, very dry. And it explains that whole that whole question of like, how did the fire jump the highway? You
It could
know,
jump. I can see you. Embers do jump, and we've had that. I live in Southern California, and back in 2019, we had some pretty bad fires in an area called Calabasas and Thousand Oaks and all that, and it jumped the freeways.
yeah,
But it burned brush, and it burned, you know, some houses. If it got too close, the embers were going under the rafters, but
yeah,
not every single car. And explain,
right.
like the video we just saw, it just doesn't happen like that. The
Or
science.
over by the Safeway, there's like a children's, oh, I don't know, like a children's theme park sort of thing. And then this store, all these storage units and some commercial stuff. And then in the parking lots of the commercial buildings, there were boats and vans and stuff randomly incinerated, but then the Safeway and the McDonald's and the Starbucks are fine, you know. So and there's no evidence that, you know, they didn't even have ash or whatever anywhere near them. So yeah, it's so bizarre that if people are not asking questions, it's because they just don't want answers.
There's no continuity to any of this. It doesn't make sense science-wise, I don't believe. And again, that's just the way I feel. And that's why we're having this conversation. You were talking about people losing their land. I was getting stories that they wouldn't even, the people that were still hanging on by a thread with their land couldn't even get paid by their insurance companies because they said they weren't letting the adjusters onto the property into the areas to make the claims. Therefore, right. They were going broke because they couldn't pay their mortgages,
right.
And defaulting in one way or another because the banks were saying, hey, you haven't paid, and I don't care what your insurance is doing, they haven't paid us, so tough.
True? Yeah, I mean, there's people still, and there's people still unemployment. I don't know anyone who's getting unemployment, even though thousands and thousands of people have lost jobs because the business is incinerated. But yeah, there's a lot of really weird stuff about money being withheld from people. It's funny, they didn't get unemployment, but I know quite a few people who did get their money from Oprah's fund. For 6 months, they were getting $1,200 a month, which is interesting that Oprah, who, not my favorite person, but Oprah, she was able to get more money to the people of Lahaina than our own government.
I think because she's under a lot of heat. I did a thing on her, and people, she bought up a lot of property in March prior to this, and then she bought even more. And there's a lot of talk that like how convenient it was, that all her stuff and all the rich people's stuff is just fine, and everybody else's, is gone, and another opportunity to buy up more stuff. I don't buy into her or her game. I don't know. Again, that's a whole nother issue with the elite. But
yeah, but I mean, August 8th is when this fire happened, and we were still, we at that time. What was really painful for the people on Maui is that we're still writing checks all day, every day, to fund this war in Ukraine. So this is, I think, why this is really turning. Thank God, but it's waking people up, and a lot of people from this experience are now saying, you know what? Screw this government. I'm never voting people like that in ever again.
Look, Steph, I got to tell you, I understand, and when you start talking about Ukraine, it's like one corrupt thing. There's so much going on, and I'm sorry, that's the way I feel. And anybody wants to change my mind, go for it. I feel sorry for the Ukrainian people getting caught in the middle, just like this. But there's so many things going on, and Maui. I'm telling you, you're here in the mainland and everything. How much talk do you about Maui? There's none. There's no talk of Maui. Other than because you're involved in it, but you go around to any people, there was hardly any talk about it when it was happening. Never mind now.
Oh yeah, my son was on spring break, and then I took the week before and the week after to really focus on him. We had 3 weeks together. He's at his dad's this week, which is why I'm available. But I didn't even hardly think about it in my daily life. You know what I mean? And I'm in the middle of writing another book, but I took a break. What I'm saying is my heart is in Lahaina, but I took a break to live my life and be with my son and focus on him for 3 weeks. I didn't hear a soul talk about it.
I don't think you're going to even, I mean, and you're involved, but I mean, for the average person, I'm telling you, even when it was a hot subject, I don't mean hot, I don't mean to play on words. When it was the subject that they had those fires, I talked to a buddy of mine, in another part in the southern part of the United States, and he's going, he didn't even know there was a fire in Maui. I mean, well, that's what I'm saying. The coverage is like, it was there and it was gone, and there's only people like yourself and there's some other people happen to be, I'm pushing the issue because there's something wrong, and
well,
again.
Yeah, I mean, but when Austin is incinerated because the World Economic Forum has pegged Austin as a big smart city development, yeah, people are going to talk about it. So that's why I want people to continue talking about this, because we have to understand the game. Why Chile? Why Acapulco? Why specifically these destinations that are ideal for tourists? Why destinations that are being pegged as sustainable developments? Why? We have to ask these questions. I'll continue to beat this drum because I'm saying, you know what? Maybe they got away with offing 300, 400, 500 people on Maui. We don't know how many people. Most people I talk to on the island think 1,000. Some people even think as much as 1,500. But most people think 500 to 1,000 that I spoke with. And here's the thing, though. What about when it happens to a major continental U.S. city? Are people going to pay attention then? Oh, yeah, they will. But I don't want it to get to that point.
Yeah, when it's too late. I mean, too late.
I don't want it to get to that point. I want us to say, we know your game.
Yeah.
And we're going to catch you if you do this again.
Enough.
Mm-hmm. Enough.
But that's the problem. Too many people just say, "Oh, bullshit." It was a fire, and that's the way it goes. And and again, because it didn't hit close to home. But say that
these are the same people that are going to have no food because they're torching the chickens. Look what's happening now with this. We don't have any chicken diseases. You know what we've got? Vaccine injury. All these COVID-19 injured people, the jab injured people, they're going to call it they're going to say, oh, this is a new virus. This is a disease. It's not a disease. It's vaccine injury. These people got turtle cancers. As these years progress, more and more are just going to have different things going on that were attributed, but don't look like it. And we're going to have, we're already going to happen this summer.
The sudden death rate has gone up since 2019 tremendously. But again, that's another show to get banned on. We're going to have to lay off. I believe.
But what I'm saying is here's the thing: the same people who are in denial that there could be, God forbid, this corruption. These are the people that also are not there. They haven't really left the matrix yet. They don't see the fact that our food supply is being systematically eliminated before our eyes. And that is terrifying. There's a lot of stuff going on. People say, well, what do you think this is? Do you think this is odd? Do you think this is the end times? Or whatever. You know what I think? I think the human condition is pretty sinful. I think there's always going to be evil people. There's nothing special about today. Right. Because this is why we have purpose in our lives, because there will always be evil, and therefore I will always have a mission and to do more good than I can see evil around me.
We can beat this. This is doable, but the problem is you have to speak. I had a guest on my show about 2-3 weeks ago. His name was Tim Kramer. He's just a vocal person, and he laid it out pretty good. He says everybody thinks that you have to be on the front lines, like you have to be me or you, getting out there in people's faces. He says you don't have to be that. You just have to be somebody. You could be the cook You could be the corpsman.
Hopefully
you know.
you're not Obama's cook, because then
No. Well, yeah, you see how that got you. But what it's saying is, like, I had a woman that wrote back to me about the fires. Again, I get so many comments after 8 months of this weekly. And she said, there's nothing you or I can do. And I never write back on the comments because there's too many. I happened to catch it, and I wrote back to her. I said, you're wrong. You're wrong. I said, it's that kind of mentality that is going to get us all killed, because you think there's nothing you can do. They don't want you getting loud. They don't want you speaking up, because they don't want attention brought to them. You start bringing attention to them, they're going to calm down, because they're saying, they're on to us. We can't do this because now they're going to nail us. There's not that many of them. There's way more of us. But what do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are way more there are way more of us, and it's an issue of faith. Sometimes we don't see how we could possibly win, how we could possibly eliminate the corruption within, the government, etc. But you know what? You just go on faith, and you just keep marching ahead, doing everything you can to create more light in the world. And you just have faith that what you're doing is impactful. I was so surprised. I was just at church last Sunday, and a woman said, hey, I told every single person I know over the last week to buy your book, Burn Back Better. I was like, wow, thanks. Because my kid ran around, he was making friends at church, and he met this woman, and she was like, where's your mommy? What does she do? And then my son said, mommy's a writer. She wrote a book about Hawaii. And then the lady said, well, that sounds interesting. And my kids, let me go get you one in the car, and he's handing out my book at church. It's really cute. And she says, I had more people go buy your book than you can believe. And she said, would you do a conversation? Would you maybe host some sort of, a forum where we can all talk about this, and maybe as a community figure out how this is just my kid hands a lady a book, and all of a sudden she wants me to do this, lecture with dozens of people, and so that they can get together and figure out how they can contribute.
But this is my point. The other day when I was talking to you, when we'd be right back, giving you the show flow for this, the final rundown, you said something to me. You said, are you on Rumble? I think this was you. And I said, well, yeah, I am. But see, my point being is, like, I'm trying not to get banned off of YouTubes and things like that, because I'm trying to reach the people that don't get it. The ones that might be open-minded, the ones that are sitting on the fence, that are just oblivious. They're not bad people. They just don't have a clue. And
that's so funny. I don't know anyone who even tries to censor themselves anymore and do YouTube. So I think that's amazing and commendable. And guess what? I know why you're doing it, and I think it's awesome.
If we reach one, Stephanie, that's one more than, because that one, just like your book, you gave me this whole thing. It's like, just by your son giving that book, look, the chain reaction. Because again, I don't need to, I'm on Rumble and Truth Socials and all this kind of stuff, but I love it, but I don't need everybody who's patting everybody on the back that they're all in agreement. I'm trying to find the ones that, because I too didn't understand up until about the second term of Obama. All of a sudden, things kind of started clicking from people giving me input, and I was going, no way. And then it started making sense. And by time we got to 2016, it all made sense to me. And thank God, I analyze and I question everything now, because we're living in times that it's always been a certain level of, deception and things like that. That's what government for you. But things are worse than they've ever been. And we do not live in the same era, and things are not what they seem, and they just aren't. And you have to be, if you want to try to live and let your kids, you have a child, I have a child, and I want them to grow up and live a decent life.
Right. Yeah.
So that's
absolutely.
Let me ask you something, because Jan Hill, she just wrote, Maui is where the billionaires, millionaires in the U.S. are going to live right before they destroy America. What's your opinion on that?
I think it's very possible. Are you kidding me? Oh, we're going to build a Venice in place of Lahaina. What are they doing? They're making it a playground for these people. And you know, it's funny, Jan. I saw another really interesting theory that you know, that each of the most rich people, some of the richest billionaires, are each taking a different island
Yeah,
for
nice.
themselves. And you know what? I don't think it's that far-fetched. It's really too many coincidences around millionaires and billionaires buying up land, especially, you know, what you saw Oprah she just bought what, another 700 acres or something.
Yeah. I'm definitely, I mean, the Oprah thing, I've just, you know, when I was a kid growing up, Oprah was this, you know, thing. And a lot of people still love her and believe, but I just think there's a lot of darkness. It's all going to come out. There's so many different things going on, from the music industry to, you know, there's so many things that are going to start exploding. And I really hope they do. So we can just get clearing the plate, annihilate all this stuff, all this corruption and everything, and let's start fresh and hope that we get
another. It's funny you say that. When Janet Osgard was suicided, what, this was it, October, November of last year, I guess. I had just published this book and I was terrified. I mean, I would not stand here in my office with the window open at night because I couldn't see what's going on outside, you know. And I live right by the Aspen Institute. No one's gonna incinerate my town, that's for sure. But I was terrified that I actually was so important that someone would want to, you know, me. But you know what? There are too many of us now. I don't even feel like I'm in danger because you know what? Well, and the other thing is, at night when I'm praying, I have this really weird habit of sort of like thinking and preparing just in case I'm martyred for the faith. So as a Christian, I'm always thinking, oh, I could be martyred, right? So many of our, you know, I think every disciple was martyred. But so I'm already in this frame of mind of like preparing to live my life, live every day like it's my last. But you know, I'm not as freaked out anymore because there's just too many of us.
Well,
it's not just Maui, but I mean, look at all these Pfizer whistleblowers. You know, Mike Eden is still alive. You know, he's incredible. And Geert Vanden Bosch is still alive. He's amazing. I talk to him all the time. I published his book, but I mean, these guys are doing so much. They have so much more credibility. I'm kind of a nobody. And so I don't know. I really do think you're right. There are a lot of us. My co-author on my next book, The Great Maui Land Grab, she was you know, she's you know, and I'm not going to say it now that I realize you're on YouTube. My last friend on YouTube. No, you're such a you're such a warrior. But you know, she's like a few of them, and in California, you know. So but she grew up on Oahu, and then she saw Lahaina burn, and just like me, she heard about the rotisserie and about the escape routes being blocked and the sirens. That's what really tipped her off, because she was familiar with hurricane sirens, and it was like the telltale heart. Everywhere she went, all day, every day, nothing even looked the same. It was like a veil was lifted. And all of a sudden, because like in my book, I detail 100 extremely bizarre anomalies that led up to this fire, she was like, I can't keep my head in the sand anymore. And she left the Matrix. And now it's been, what, 9 months? Oh, God bless her, almost 9 months. And she woke up this late, you know, even in California. You know, her husband super woke, and she's, you know, got a few of them, but she woke up because this Maui thing triggered an awakening in her. And I pray that my book does the same.
Better late than never. But real quick.
late than never.
As for the jab, if they sold it pretty good. They scared the shit out of everybody. I'm not going to hang on, but so I understand if some fell for it and got the initial, but the ones that are getting boosted 4 times and waiting, I can't wait for the 5th. It's like, what are you boosting if it doesn't work in the first place? Because you're still getting, those are the ones that are like, they're just on a different journey, as I was told by somebody else, and that's just the way it is. You're talking to the wall. They're looking at you like you're crazy as hell, and we're looking at them like they're crazy as hell. And God bless us all, and whatever. That's all.
I was so lucky in 2021, in the fall of 2021, I believe it was. I was working with what is now the Wellness Company, and this is before they launched. And I had the opportunity to interview, Dr. Harvey Risch and Heather Gessling. She's amazing. And Richard Ammerling and all these different doctors who became part of that initial Wellness Company tribe. One of them was Peter McCullough, who's still with the Wellness Company. And I said, all right, Dr. Peter, as we're in our interview for this book, I'm like, all right, so my family, some of them got 2. Most of them didn't get any more than 2. What do you think? What do you really think? You can tell me. I won't publish this,
Watch how you say this now. Just go ahead, say something, but just walk around it so people can hear it and it doesn't get taken down.
He said, you know what? If nothing happened yet, they're going to be fine. That's my strong conviction. That was his strong conviction at the time. And I just needed to hear that, like, okay, they stopped. Thank God they stopped, and you know what? A couple years later, it's still true. It's the people who keep going back for more.
Let's see. And a lot of people with underlying issues too, it'll affect them a lot more than it will the healthier. But again, we need, as much as I want to, believe me, I want to talk about this. Had I known, I can do a show. I just have to take it off of YouTube, and things like that. I want to get back reil quick. I want to play you one
beautiful thing he said. He said, I know why people are all coming back to God because when you see evil, a lot of people, when they see the evil, they also see the opposite side of the spectrum. They see the other end of that spectrum, which is good or God. And that to me was always just such a sweet, just such a beautiful, encouraging message. Was like, we see all this awful stuff, but sometimes or I should say most of the time, it doesn't bring me down, because I know that when Satan's overplaying his hand, a lot of people are seeing the light.
You can only hope, because that was what I was going to say. If you see it, I mean, I still have plenty of people that I know that can't wait for the next version of, and I'm looking, I'm going, you're insane. You're just friggin' insane. I love you. I'm not going to we'll get out of my life.
So you're still in California? That's unheard of in Colorado. And we're liberal too.
I'm not saying, I know people all over the, world basically, or country. But the thing is, I do have people that I know that look at me like friggin' Peter and his show. And, he's lost his mind. I'm the one who's crazy. I'm the one who's crazy.
You're amazing. You're such a nice person. I don't hang out with many people like that.
Well, see, I can't, because I mean, the thing is, this stuff never existed as I was growing up and having these relationships with people. We never had these kind of politically, health-wise, because
you're going to a concert.
It didn't exist.
Right.
But we're living in times that look, and I say lately, I'm saying this almost every show. When I started this show, I said, I'm not going to talk about religion, and I'm not going to talk about politics. I don't feel the need. But we have come into a time that if I don't, I have this platform, and if I don't, it's shame on me for not. I'm one of the silent ones, and that shame on me. So be it. Whatever happens. Hopefully good. But I'm willing to take the blunt of it for the ones who think I'm a fucking idiot. I mean, that's just the way it is. And the ones that say, I get a lot of God bless you for what you do, and you can't please everybody. You're never going to. Look. We're going way over because we started a little later with you because we had a little injuries, but that's okay. I want to play one more video from Lahaina at a meeting, like a town meeting, and then we're going to talk about that real quick, and then I got to let you go, and we got to go because it's going to end up being a 2-hour show as opposed to a 1 hour 8-minute show. But that's okay. Again, it's all good. I can do what I want. So check this out, and then I want your opinion.
My name is Gary Cordery. Lived here on Oahu since 1980. Father, grandfather. This is an emotional meeting. Nani, you mentioned a moment ago, this is not about Maui. This is absolutely about Maui. And my concern, and I'm actually speaking to each of you sitting around this table. Each of you have a placard representing an organization. And I have a question before I actually have my testimony. By a raise of hands, are any of you participating in an event, in a restructuring as a stakeholder on Maui at any level, whether you're state, federal, private, or a private citizen? Are you engaged? Are you a stakeholder? Are you written? Is your name listed as a stakeholder of any of the redevelopment plans regarding a smart city? By a raise of hands, I would like to see a raise of hands. Because the information is out there. Raise of hands. I can tell you, Department of Planning, DLNR, DBED, Housing, all of these agencies, and I'm not saying to you directly, but you're here representing these agencies, therefore, it is your responsibility to tell the truth. Each one of these agencies have signed on as stakeholders for the redevelopment of a smart city in Maui. I'm asking you again, who has signed on?
So I'm sorry, but I asked for testimony pursuant to the agenda, and there's nothing on the agenda about smart cities. And if we could also refrain from yelling.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'll provide clarification. Smart cities is everything about housing. The idea that you're going to sit around this table, and I realize it's not on today's agenda, but the idea that you're going to sit around this table and make decisions about the long-term viability of sustained life on Maui without the people's input, I can tell you, is this a charade? It is true. Try go to Hele Mai Maui 2040.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a 5-minute break. I have repeatedly stated we are not discussing Lahaina. Just to calm temperatures down. We will come back in 5 minutes. We're taking a recess.
You're all responsible, and I would like to talk to you when you say that it's not true. I can tell you, Hele Mai Maui 2040, look at the stakeholders, and you're going to find all of your departments listed as stakeholders. Okay, I'll be right here.
I'll be right here. I'm not going away.
What's your take? I mean, I wanted to end it pretty much with that video and that, because that's what's going on now. Now it's like, what's going to happen with all that land and all these people?
And they're fighting. We're not here to talk about Lahaina. We are here to talk about Lahaina. You know what? Because what they do in Lahaina, they're going to do in other places. If they're going to take Maui, what are they going to take next? Kauai? A little far off, but I mean, it's just insanity what these people go through, and I have friends who show up at every city council meeting like that, and mostly on Maui, not in Oahu like that. But yeah, that guy is he was just being gaslighted, and God bless him for doing that. You'll see that now. You see that quite frequently now.
Would you say that his statements he was making about all these entities, is he correct in what he's saying? Because I saw you shaking your head a lot.
No question. That's why people are getting pissed, because I'm walking around and I'm interviewing people after the fire, and I'm talking to people, and they're like, yeah, man, I want to help the community. Oh my God, it's so sad. I lost this family member, this cousin, or this happened to us, or we lost our family home. And then all of a sudden, they won't talk to me anymore. And it's because, they're stakeholders. And they've been told not to talk, And so a lot of people on that island, important people, I wish I'm not going to say any names, but there's people who were gung ho pro Lahaina. We got to get back our land, and now all of a sudden they're saying, "Oh, it was climate change, and we need affordable housing." And I'm not going to say anything anymore. And then, well, funny enough, you own a construction company that's going to benefit from this or that, So the reason I was nodding, emphatically is because, yeah, I've seen that, and it's gross. It's gross looking these people in the eye and seeing that they've sold out their people.
Yeah. Just wanted to get confirmation. Again, I'm just a show host. That's why I bring people like you on who've done things like write a book, Burn Back Better. Right here, Stephanie's book. She's got, you have sources, you have eyewitnesses, the testimonials in here. You even have, I want to say, scan codes where people can go and see videos, which I was, there's like a scan code there on lots of pages. To where you can scan it and takes you right to videos. Because the problem I see with most people is they're headline readers. They won't take the time to dig a little deeper because life is busy and they just go by what they hear. But if you want to know more, you need to get this book. And I also want to tell people where they can see more about what you do and all that. I hope I got it right because we touched on it quickly. But if you want to learn more about Stephanie Pierucci, you can go to petergshow.com, and you got many books of all types, correct? Including Burn Back Better?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've done everything from books about, financial advisors and people who founded, businesses to people who are coming out of the Department of Defense's whistleblowers who, are reporting on corruption at the highest levels of government. And we've got everything in between. So we've done poetry and cookbooks, but, of course, what I require is that everyone is putting their heart and soul into their work, because I don't need to publish books. I like to publish books, and I like to publish stuff that I know is elevating world consciousness. And so that's what we do at Pierucci Publishing. We are elevating world consciousness through books.
Okay, so you got this one, and you said that you're doing a follow-up, and you're going to be doing another book entitled, what was it again?
The Great Maui Land Grab.
Okay, when do you expect that to be out? Guesstimate.
I think it's no. I mean, like, I know how to write a book. I've written 60. But okay. I think it's May 8th, which is the 9-month anniversary. That is the date that the ebook will be available. And we're not outsourcing to China. We're going to have the book printed in the USA. And so the hardcover and paperback books might take a little longer, but you should get the ebook by May 8th.
Okay, this year. So that's quick. I mean, you were quick on this one. This one came out. When did this come out?
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't sleep for a few weeks, but that one came out, I think, like October 27th.
That was amazing because I it took me a while to track you down, but I saw because I heard people talking about this book, and I said, okay, if you took the time to dig deep that quickly, I want you on my show.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I get that, when my heart's in something, I just don't sleep. I get it done.
Well, it's good to have somebody like you around, I guess. Get her done.
Yeah.
All right. Once again, if you want to find Stephanie, you can go to peruccipublishing.com. You can get this book on Amazon and all those places too, correct?
Absolutely. And anyone can find out how to reach me at peruccipublishing.com. We got our phone number at the bottom of the website. There's an email, and we're fairly responsive. So
okay.
I can be found there.
All right. Before you leave, is there anything to sum this whole thing up? If there's anything off the top of your head that you want to leave my people with, now's your chance.
If you know anybody who is living on Maui, it doesn't matter if they're on the north side or the east side, anybody on Maui that you know who's living there is right now vulnerable and being exposed to extremely toxic ash. They're still cleaning up Lahaina, but y'all, it's almost 9 months after the fire. They just had the 8-month anniversary, so to speak. But we're seeing that people who are not even involved in the cleanup had extremely high levels of lead and arsenic in their bloodstreams. But here's the other thing. A lot of the people who were exposed to the ash from 9/11, because of all the synthetic materials that burned, you're inhaling materials that are toxic and undetectable until you wind up with like cancer or leukemia. So anybody you know on island, I recommend that they get a serious detox protocol. The firefighter cancer prevention fund has the best one, and that's DECONPAC, DECONPAC.com. So if you know anyone on the island, I don't care if they're on the opposite side of Lahaina, that
Oh wow. She just got coincidence? She just got bounced, and it wasn't me. We'll give her a minute. Usually she did have to do the show from her cell phone as opposed to her computer because she had a problem. So either a call bounced her or somebody bounced her, because they didn't bounce me out. But we made it through the show. Maybe she'll pop back on real quick if we're lucky. If not, we're going to move on. While we're waiting, in case she does come back on, I want to remind everybody real quick. Let's see what goes on here. I want to remind everybody real quick. Next week, Wednesday, where are we at? Wednesday, April 17th. Time for Your Health. I'm going to be talking to naturopathic Dr. Randy Shannon. She's going to be on Wednesday the 17th, and she does face, tongues, and fingernails, 5,000-year-old medicine, naturopath medicine. And I think every time I have one of these type of doctors on, it's a plethora of information, and you're not going to want to miss that for sure, because they just offer alternatives to Western medicine where they just give you pills to cover up something that's going on with you. I find that these type doctors, especially like Dr. Randy, and Randy with an I, it's a she, have ways to get to the root cause, to find out what's really starting the problem, as opposed to just, like I said, covering it up with pills and not really fixing the problem. So you're not going to want to miss that. Please, Wednesday, April 17th, right here. Naturopathic Dr. Randy Shannon. And again, she's pretty popular. She's been on many, many shows, and she's going to be on this show right here, April 17th, Wednesday, next week. So tune in for that. I don't have Shannon Pierucci on back. Maybe she can't get on. I do not know. So one way or another, we are going to finish. Let's see what's going on here. Thank you for having me. Sorry, my weird tech is storm destroyed. Wow. She's not going to be popping back on. I don't know what knocked her off, but either way, thank God we got the majority of it. I remind you one more time before we leave, please, please, please subscribe. Whatever platforms you're watching, follow, subscribe, share. I need your help. It's all about sharing and building this whole thing. I need you to do this for me. I cannot bring this to you. They are battling with me to keep me shadow banned, however you want to do it, on certain platforms, because they don't want the truth coming out. They don't want me talking about these type of things, but I will talk about these things. I will not stop. Whether they ban me or not, there'll be other platforms you'll find me, but the only way you'll know is if you follow me. So please, I'm on so many different platforms. Please do that. And also, I appreciate the ones who take the time to watch this show. I know you have to be dedicated to watch an hour-plus show. It's going to be an hour, 45-minute show tonight because of this information. But if you don't have the time, it's easy. You Google Peter G Show podcast. Put an earbud in your ear. You can listen to the show while you're driving. You can listen to the show while you're working out, while you're at work, because we all know work is boring. So there's so many ways that you can get this information. We're on 26 different audio platforms, 11 different live video platforms, still, until they make that different. But there's ways to do it. Please, please, please support, okay? I'm asking you. Please. Thank you. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed what she had to bring to the table. Don't forget, go to Amazon, buy her book, Burn Back Better, Lahaina, A Perfect Storm or a Perfect Crime. It's a lot of information right here, okay? I appreciate you. And let's all just try to take a deep breath, think before you bark. You don't have to take a bunch of shit from people, but you don't have to be an ass either about it. I know life is tough, and it's tough. So just hang in there. I know that everybody's going through their own things, and in your world, it's a big problem. Life is short. Let's make the best of it. That's why we need to stick together. United we stand, divided we fall, people. That's all I can tell you. I'm not asking you to agree with everything I say. I'm asking you to just listen and try to make your own decisions, common sense, okay? I think we've lost a lot of that. Anyway, my name is Peter G. Thank you for watching Life of Peter G, The Peter G Show, every Wednesday like clockwork, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. on the East Coast, God willing, all right? And I mean that. Every day, people aren't here anymore, so I'm very grateful, all right? Thank you again, and as always, I love you guys. Peace out.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, Divorce Dad.